Alright, so this is part 2 of lesson 2.5 on collections. We're going to be talking about dictionaries. And with dictionaries, again, this is an array, but it is an array collection that contains a key and a value. So an example where you could use this is, let's say that you want to encode something. So let's say that the person enters the name Joe, and every time that you have the letter J, you're going to replace that with a pound sign. And anytime you have the letter O, you're going to replace it. Any name that's entered, you replace the O with the A, and the E with a colon, something like that. So the key would be the letter, like the letter J, and the value would be what you want it to change it to. So J you would change it to, I forgot what I said, pound sign, for example. That could be one use for this. Or a key could be a person's ID number. Okay, so student ID number, and the value could be their, let's say, GPA. The thing about the key is that it has to be unique. The key has to be unique. And so you could have a student ID number, you could have, let's say, a SKU number, an item number. So when you go purchase something at the store, it has a barcode. The barcode has a SKU number, and that is unique to that item. And then let's say that you scan the item, and the value would be the actual cost of that item. So that's just some ideas that you could use this. And so in this particular example, they have var scores, so variable scores. They have a name is going to be the key, so the names cannot repeat. And this would really not be ideal because people have the same names. So I don't like the example that they use, but it's what they use. So we have a string name, key is a score. So Richard has a score 500, Luke 400, and Cheryl 800. So here are some ways, 3 different ways that we can define a dictionary. So you give it any name for your variable. The first thing, this is the way that we'll use most of the time, that you'll see it used most of the time. You'll have the key data type, colon, and then the value data type. And then this is an empty dictionary, or you can set values to it. The other one that's common is the colon, and then again inside you have key and value, and assign it, and then just an empty dictionary. Or you can assign it the values, put the values in there, like put these values inside here. Now, if you don't give it the data types, then it automatically, just like our arrays and our simple data types, it knows that this is the key is a string and the value is an integer. Automatically assigns it if you don't give it the data type. Adding, removing, and modifying a dictionary. So how do we add and modify to our dictionary? So here we have scores again, and what we want to do in the square brackets is we want to give it the key. So if you give it the key, you can change the value. So, well, actually here we actually have Ollie equals 399, so we're actually adding a key and a value to scores. And here we're updating, So we're saying old value equals, so we're creating a constant. We're saying scores that update value, so we're updating Richard, and Richard is now going to be changed to 100. So let's take a look at this. Let's just copy it and play around a little bit with this. Just going to go to a clean page. I'm not looking at the exercises, I'm just using it so that we can play around with this. So we have scores. So let's go ahead and print scores. So we print scores, we see that Richard got updated to 100. We added Ollie, and we still have Luke, and we still have Cheryl. Okay. So that's adding and modifying. And then that's the one that we just did. So here we have Ollie, old value equals, we updated. Okay, here they just printed. Oh, so here they're showing you if you want to keep the old value before you update it, you assign it to the variable. So they did that here. So you could just take this out and update the value, but then you would lose the 500. If for some reason you want the old value, assign it to a constant, and then if we print old value, then the old value is the 500. So it says old value is 500, and then we print all this here. Okay. And then here we have something called nil. So here it says we have Richard is 100, Luke is 400, Cheryl's 800. Scores Richard equals nil. Print scores. So when we do that and we print scores, we see that we have Cheryl and Luke, and we've removed Richard. So by assigning it to nil, we remove Richard. And actually, I think in the next section, or next couple of sections, I'm not sure which one, we'll be talking about nil. But nil for dictionaries will remove a key and value. So if let all value equals scores dot remove value. So here we also can do it by using remove value, and we give it the key, which is Luke, and then it now removes all of Luke, and what we have left is just Cheryl. So we can remove it by assigning it to nil, or we can use scores.remove value, either one. And so here we have again Richard, Luke, and Cheryl. Let players equal array scores dot keys. So what this is going to do is this is going to create an array called players, and this array is going to contain just the keys, which is the people's names. And this is going to create an array called points, and it's going to create the scores for each player. So it separates your keys and your values into two different arrays. So here it says, if let my score equals scores Luke, print my score. So let my score. So we're assigning scores Luke. Where's scores Luke? Scores Luke. So we're assigning it 400. And Luke's score is 400, so it prints 400. So all this is doing is assigning the score of Luke. So my score now becomes 400. 400 is equal to 400 because scores Luke is 400. It just prints it. Silly, you would not do that. Okay, so here it says if let Henry score equals scores Henry, print Henry score. Now we don't have a Henry, so let's do this here. Okay, and we're going to copy it and try this out. So what do we have right now here? Okay, right now we have Ollie, Luke, Cheryl, and Richard. So let's say that we add that to there. And so notice that nothing happens here at the bottom when I added these two lines, the if statement. So there is no Henry, so it doesn't print anything. But let's say that we have, well, we don't have score. Yeah, we do have scores. So here we're going to change this to Cheryl. And it doesn't matter that this says Henry score. This is just a constant. So this could say anything. This could be S, right? Doesn't matter what you call this. It's just a constant. And it just assigns it, let S equal score Cheryl. And it assigns it the score of Cheryl, which is 800. And then it prints Cheryl's score of 800 right there because they are equal. Okay. And that's it for dictionaries. So once again, this example had names and scores. And it has to be a unique key. So, let's say this is, I'm guessing, all I can think of is I'm thinking of like old Atari games where you had to enter, that ages me, but where you had to enter your name and there's like the highest score. I don't know, I haven't played video games in a long time, but I don't know if it still does that where you enter your name and it saves the highest score. And then, so if somebody already had the same name as you would just enter your last name or one more letter, but it has to be unique. And a lot of times we'll use this for things like student ID numbers, social security numbers, things that are going to be unique, that nobody else will have one the same as you. Okay, good luck with the lab. And that is the end of lesson 2.5.